thing, right?
Have you seen some frequent occurrences of like an athlete that comes to you, has a major injury, and then they just kind of quit?
Yeah, sadly.
Is it frequent, or is it just 1 of 10 or something like that?
I would say it's infrequent.
Okay.
But so I'll qualify that by saying that people almost always stay active.
Yeah.
So sort of like the basketball player kind of thing playing soccer. It's like in her head, she thought basketball was the problem.
Oh, okay.
But she played soccer for 10 more years.
Yeah.
Which again doesn't make sense to me, but party on.
So saying all that, what's the most common injury in athletes? I think I know the answer, but I'm not a pro like you, so.
Common injury. In athletes, you're specifically.
In athletes,
not that I see.
Just in athletes that you see and that you're aware of based on your education and your experience.
Yeah, I would say some sort of knee injury.
ACL probably.
I would say ACL, MCL.
Yeah.
Even just biomechanical stuff like patellofemoral syndrome.
Yeah. Now the ACL is an interesting one because when I tore mine, and it wasn't tremendously long ago. I think it was probably 10 years now. But that's a long. I've known you for a long time. When I tore it, I thought it was the end of my life. Because at that time I wasn't aware of the advances in the medical procedures, because I was just kind of going off of what you hear, like you watch some of those old football guys and they tear their ACL and their career was over after they tear their ACL. It's interesting because it's such a common occurrence. Like, I don't know the exact statistic, but in the NFL, I remember the last time I read about it. It was something ridiculous, like at least 50 ACL tears a year in the NFL, and it's probably more. Why is that specific? I know that it's probably because it's highly occurring, but why has that specific injury gotten so advanced, you think, in terms of the procedures?
That's a really good question. Why it's gotten so the repair of it hasn't, I don't think, gotten so advanced. It's the rehab principles.
The rehab principle, yeah.
My mentor, okay, so now I'm dating myself, but I mean, he was working early on when I was like in high school and stuff like that. He was starting his career and they still casted you for ACL. So that's like the 90s, right? Like, so if you think about, yes, 25 years ago was a long time, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. So you used to be in a cast for 2 weeks and they would cut out a little square in your cast so that they could put the muscle stem in.
Oh man.
Because think about how much your leg atrophied.
Yeah, a lot.
So think about what you do from a workout standpoint and think about just because the ACL has such a neurological connection to your quad that once it's gone, your quad shuts off. Right? It's a protection mechanism, basically.
100%.
So you have a surgery, and your quad comes back a little bit, but it takes quite a while.
Yeah, I remember.
For even the fittest people or strongest people.
I remember the first few days of the surgery. The only thing I was supposed to do was kind of wiggle my knee around a little bit, and then try to. I think we call it quad sets, where you just try to contract your quad. That was it. And I remember, me and my wife were dating then. She came over after like 3. I'm like, look. And she looks and she's like, what the fuck? I don't see shit. I'm like, I'm moving my kneecap. I'm moving my knee. Right? So I understand what you're saying with the neural connection to the quad, right?
Yeah. And so think now 25 years later, I have always encouraged and have actually, bet, some people call it threatening, but bet people that, you will be walking without your crutches in the first 5 days.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah.
To go through the science a little bit, that first 6 weeks, you've got a brand new, fresh ligament, right? Ligament, in air quotes. But you've got a fresh tissue that is now doing what that ligament has done. So let's get your butt in gear and get the muscles working while they've got that support. Because ligaments, basically, from an anatomy standpoint, are like pieces of tape.
Yeah.
Right? They hold the joints together, and the muscles are the dynamic support. So you've got a brand new piece of tape holding those two bones together. It's stable. Let's get your butt in gear, because that physiological change within that new ligament starts changing at that 6-week mark.
Yeah.
And you start getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
Now, this is a random question, but I know, like, for the ACL, it was after 6 months, the tendon technically forms into a traditional diagnostic ligament.
Yeah. Is that about 85 to 88% is what.
Is that the same for every replacement that they kind of do that with?
Yes.
Okay.
Physiologically. So again, I have a great bias towards patellar tendon grafts.
Yeah.
So, but it's a double-edged sword in a way, because technically that structure is stronger just because it is.
Yeah.
Versus a hamstring, there's more stretch to it, right? So when they put the hamstring graft in, like you had,
and
they take the stretch out of the tendon so that it's not all flippy floppy.
Yeah.
But okay, so from a technical strength standpoint, but as you know, from a rehab standpoint, you can rehab a ton faster with a hamstring graft than you can with a patellar tendon, because your quad, which is the muscle that's attached to your patellar tendon, is always loaded.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you do. Whereas your hamstring is only engaged when you're doing knee flexion type exercises. So from a rehab standpoint, it's 10 times easier.
But I mean, it does come with its downfalls. I do have like a hole in my hamstring, especially when I lose weight or cut weight for a fight.
Right. You had noticed that. Yeah.
And then I still the belly has filled in a lot more. But and I'm gonna call doctors out on this, because they need to stop fucking doing this. When they tell you you're gonna regain a certain percentage, it's a fucking lie. You're not gonna regain the 98-99% that they tell you. It's a bull-faced lie. You'll be lucky if you get 90. And I'm just not saying that naively. I'm saying that as somebody who's gone through multiple different surgeries in my athletic career. You're not going to regain. You're lucky if you get 98 to 99% of function back if you use a graft in any surgery, in my opinion.
That's fair. Yep.
Yeah. And I think it's something that doctors do too much. Maybe they do it to ease the patient's mind and make them feel like things are going to be okay. But I feel like it's better if you just be honest with them. If you're going to do the hamstring graft, you're going to lose at least 8 to 10% of the strength that you had. And that's, I mean, for me, thankfully, in my sport, I've made it like that hamstring is super flexible. So before the surgery, I couldn't throw an axe kick and flip my leg over someone's head. Now I can, because the hamstring is a lot looser in terms of flexibility than before. But I think it's a very shitty thing of surgeons and doctors to say that to people, and just to be honest with them. You're going to lose you had an injury, you're going to lose some function if we do this.
And to give it, so this is going to go on a tangent, and to give it a sports-specific analysis.
Yeah.
Right? So there are a lot of surgeons out there that do a certain graft because that's what they feel comfortable with, or that scientifically that's what they feel is the best result.
Yeah.
There are some surgeons, fewer that I've dealt with, but there are some surgeons that assess or analyze what you actually have to do afterwards. Okay. Right? Or even structurally, when you're dealing with a 14-year-old girl, it's like, well, is the patellar tendon long enough?
Yeah.
To actually do the proper graft, right? With you, and I remember telling you this when we were rehabbing, is that anyone who did martial arts, they were the only ones who complained about that last little 5 to 10 degrees of flexion that they didn't have.
Yeah, because you
right? Like jiu-jitsu is like a huge
flexibility thing.
Knee flexion, especially, right, with force. And then you add in all the grappling aspects of having to have that ability to have a quick, fast twitch of your hamstrings.
Well, I think the key thing for the knee surgery was, if I remember correctly, is like imagine yourself just on your knees. You're on your knees, and somebody is trying to take you down. So there's quite often times where you're getting taken down. You're on your knees. It's like that yoga pose where they're on the back, but this is with somebody trying to tackle you. So your knees have to be able to. Your ass literally needs to be able to touch your heels. There's no other way to put it because I see white belts come in and they don't have the flexibility, and then they develop it over time because it's not that hard. It's an easy position to like be in every day and just develop the movement. But after any kind of surgery, like an ankle or a knee, you have to have that doing a grappling sport. I would even say football because of the way they fall, right?
Yeah, fair. Yep. But how many other sports could you name that needs greater than 120 degrees of flexion?
Not many.
From a functional, right? Like from literally functioning, not getting yourself into a...
from a functional...
Right?
And then there's the other part of martial arts and combat sports where you can't wear a brace.
Yeah.
Like, you can wear an ACL brace. Like, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady, because I know he's torn his ACL, he still wears an ACL brace because he can.
Yep.
Right? And that's great because I would love to, because it gives him that sense of security. It protects the joint from, going into those directions, and it stabilizes the knee. But then there's other sports where you just absolutely can't. You can't wear
you
brace.
Can't in rugby. You can't in soccer. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you can't in basketball either. It'll be...
Well, I don't think so either. No, you're right. Anything that I think has, like, football has outside protection, hockey has outside protection. Anything that's going to hurt people anyway.
Well, I mean,
who cares if you've got a brace on, right?
Anything where you're wearing padding, I guess, where you can wear them. But I mean, so for those other athletes, you're kind of screwed if you don't get the function and the range of motion back.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to either hurt something else or re-tear it again, I guess, right?
Yep. And as you know, as a strength coach as well, is that range of motion allows for strength.
Yeah, the more range of motion you get, the more activation.
Enjoyed that clip? Please head on over to the link below to my YouTube page and watch the rest of the podcast. If not, you can always find me on Spotify or Apple or Google Play or all those. We're on everything. Download, listen in your car, get it going. Thank you for the support. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.